AI. And I know that that's a big, scary word nowadays, but I do believe that we have to lean into those tools.
I agree, and I think where originators, and I'll speak for the loan officer piece of our industry, I think where they will start to see the biggest improvement in their business and how they handle the scarcity of time, like you had mentioned earlier, is leaning into things that help automate some of their day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, understanding that, hey, some of these tools are not replacing your ability to communicate effectively with potential buyers, or leads or people that you need to grow in a relationship. But what it's doing is it can take some of the aspects or some of the things that take some of our mental drain. I've said it for a lot of years. This industry is on a day-to-day basis so mental. And if you don't stay on top of, your what's the word I'm looking for? It's not mental health, but if you're not staying on top of controlling your day on a mental, you'll get sidetracked so very easily because it's so many, squirrel over here because you answer that email or a problem arises or something comes up or I need to return this phone call, where if you're sticking with automation and you're sticking with a consistent plan for your day, then you're accomplishing what you set out. I know Phil said it before in the past. If I might have 20 things on my plate, but there's 4 things that I absolutely need to accomplish today. And if all 4 of those things are not accomplished, I did not have a successful day.
Yeah.
You
no
can
matter how many other things I got done.
Yeah, the other 16 of those 4 that I did, if I did them all, but I left those 4 that were the key that I needed to do that day, then it was a loss of a day. And I think, back to your point, I think if we have, as loan officers, continue to lean in on some of the things that allow them to automate some of those things, the mental clarity begins to lift, and then they can start focusing on some of the high touch things that allow them to effectively grow relationships and effectively, close more deals.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the beauty of human beings is that no matter how much of the technology, the things evolve and change, right, there's still the component of what we as people want, and it's just figuring out how to use it. And words like discipline, consistency, priorities,
there's a reason they keep being brought up.
They exist for a reason. I mean, understanding and clarity around what your job is something that I think, again, people are not always, I think, at a place where they've really done that. And I think that's and we can kind of wrap in this topic area here of helping people understand themselves, right? Recognizing what it exactly is, because in sales, in particular, real estate, mortgage, title, the one thing that is universally true is that all types of personalities get into
the business,
right? Introverts, extroverts, people that love running numbers, people that are intense salespeople, right? They just want to generate leads and have conversations, and they're not very detail oriented. You get this wide range.
Yeah, you do.
But the truth is the job carries both, right? You have to be generating leads. You need to be building relationships. You need to understand guidelines and running numbers and calculating DTI. And there's different levels of responsibility in what you can delegate and what you can take on. But the one thing that you cannot survive is if you're not generating leads. So figuring out what is it that you are drawn to, right? Are you that introvert that likes to calculate numbers and study guidelines? You have to build a plan around that and what your ultimately your objective is going to be for how much production.
Let's find some automation to help you grow some leads,
to help you
so
grow
you
some
can run
leads
your numbers
and build
vice
out.
versa. Yeah,
exactly right. And if you're sales, and then more sales, and then I'll deal with the details later. Obviously, that's going to potentially lead to a not so great customer experience if you don't have the right support system in place and you haven't learned. But because there's such a wide range, again, helping people be clear. First off, let's get real about your strengths and your weaknesses.
That's right.
Let's make sure we're serving the customer first, taking care of their needs, making sure they are not only going to have a great experience, but you're doing right by them, you're protecting their interests, and then let's build around you. I mean, to me, that's probably been my favorite thing in the course of my career. But it's also one of the most important things that I think companies fail on, where they assign a one-size-fits-all model to these variations of people. And at the end of the day, while we're talking a lot about this industry, I think that's inherently, what in sales in general, like people are born from.
You are exactly right. The hard part about leadership is really adjusting to what you're saying. Your big companies, a lot of times they don't have the time to have individual programs. So they get into the one size fits all, but they've got so many people that those people that don't do well in that environment, they fall off, but they hire so many more people that, they're not really doing that good for the salesperson. The other end of the scale is when you get such a small company where you have this one small manager that is exceptionally talented and successful. They really don't have the time, and a lot of times the mentality, they're just teaching their philosophy, which doesn't fit to maybe the 2 or 3 people that they've hired. So they lose people because they don't have the time. So the real challenge is the balance for a management team to understand that, well, we're big, but we still have to act small. And it's tough. I've managed companies for many years.
200 years.
200 years and counting. And that is the biggest challenge. How do you reach each individual and be able to, at their level, provide them with the support and the experience that they need to blossom? It's incredibly difficult.
And I think that speaks to your leadership style too, that you value that you want to see the individual grow and become the best version of themselves. I think we all share that. I think a core item that drives each and every one of us is, I want to see people grow. I want to see people get better every single day, because if you're becoming the best version of yourself, it's just going to cause your business to flourish. And even if that flourishing becomes the best customer service for a single customer, that's still the best experience that customer was able to experience, because you invested in yourself and you became the best version of yourself. So I really do think that some of leadership is growing and fostering that, and focusing on the human nature, the human piece of what we do, and letting the automation and the tools kind of fill in the gaps, and find out what the strengths and weaknesses are of our people.
That's the stuff that keeps me up at night.
Yeah. In a positive way or negative way?
Well, you don't know at 2 a.m. when you can't sleep because you're, painting pictures on the ceiling. But that's the toughest part about leadership, I think, is being, because the company has to make money.
Yeah.
And so you want to see each and every person be successful, because that's what drives the company's success.
That's right.
But then how do you do that where your time is on each individual? And that's where management earns their keep.
Yeah.
I mean, bottom line.
No doubt. Well, it's the difference that, ultimately creates greatness for people, right? Is being around mentors and leaders that help inspire us, help us find our weaknesses. And that is, for me, it keeps me up in a good way. That's probably my favorite thing is to help see somebody go from A to B to C and know that you're helping pave the road to success. So
yeah, you do it. You do it naturally too. You do.
Yeah.
That's a I was fortunate enough myself to be around a lot of great ones and some very, very poor ones that the learn from the good ones and learn from the bad ones, and you try to make your own mistakes and just not make the same ones that you saw. So
I know you want to land the plane, but before you land this plane, I would be remiss as the resident sneakerhead here to point out that last week we had new shoes. This week we've gone backwards. We've regressed. Our leadership skills have not
those
to the best.
Those shoes might need to actually be thrown in the garbage as soon as we're done, because they look like they're about ready to
We have not
apart.
made him the best version of himself.
Look, I still have duct tape in my office. These babies will still work. Don't ask. You are new. For years, I don't know how many years, I had a pair of shoes.
Too many.
I had a pair of Doc Martens that I wore, and literally the sole would start to fall off, and I'd take it back to my office, and I would super glue it back on just to make everybody mad, because everybody made fun of it. And the worst part was when it would rain outside, my feet would get wet because the soles had holes in them and all that. But I refused to get rid of those shoes just because everybody mentioned it.
I'm so sorry I brought this up.
Right?
I should have never brought this up.
Tell him the truth. Would I not be in there with the super glue going, okay, I'm putting this sole back on?
He would also complain about his feet being wet from when it was raining because it got holes in the bottom.
That explains a lot.
Yep. And
a lot of questions are answered.